Okay, let's see in the page. Good. Good morning, Friday. Happy to be here. And I'm Ruth. I wanted to say I'm Ruthie. Ruthie, this relationship becomes too much. I am Noah. I'm Ruthie, my teacher and my partner and my friend. And today we're going to talk about fear and anxiety, something that is very present in our lives, always, at least in our lifetime. I sometimes ask myself that, like, our ancient fathers and mothers also had fear, probably, but anxiety. Maybe we should give it a little thought today. I'm very interested in this. Yeah, but especially in the last year, especially in these days, no one can really escape this feeling of, I don't know if anxiety, but at least anxiousness. And I want to start with a little, you want to say something? So I want to kind of dive us in with a little sharing coming from a person that I really love and think that he's one of the most talented, beautiful, wise, conscious, and loving person. And yet he told me that he's kind of going crazy because on one hand, he sees that his life is very rich with love and talent and even money, like things are happening well, even in those challenging times. He still gets jobs. He still can see people that he loves. His family is not here, like they don't live in the same country, but still they're in good contact. Yeah, they miss each other. Like everything he can say to feel good and grateful, and he does. It's not just a story. He really, really feels it. And at the same time, he tells me, I wake up with anxieties. There is something in me that no matter what I tell myself, no matter how grateful I am, no matter how much I love my life and I love myself, there is something so the opposite of peaceful all the time, like constantly vibrating. And I wake up anxious. It takes me 2 hours to just start getting like breathe into the day. So, and he used the term gap. I don't understand this gap. So I would love you to say something about this.
There, on the tube, I think in London, there's a sentence you read everywhere: "Mind the gap," and it's really something that is supposed to make us think, not just mind the gap, but it's like, is there such a thing as a gap? If what we are is one. And I know it sounds philosophical, but I'm not not all over the place. It's when we acknowledge then that everything is one energy, and that means that there are no two sides to a dilemma. There is no real gap between one state and the other, which is absolutely how we're brought up to think. Okay, it's very fundamental. If there is no question of moving from one place within you or in a relationship to another place, if that is not the way the things really are, if it's not what's really happening, it's what we believe is happening, it's how we interpret what's happening, but that's not what really is.
Wait. But there also is. And in the train, there's a gap. There's the train and there's the what do you call it?
Ramp.
The ramp. And between, there's a gap, and you want to mind the gap so you don't fall into the tracks. And I will even extend this and say that also in relationships and maybe also in working career, there are steps, okay? Maybe my relationship with my partner won't be the same after we will have children. There is a transition. So what can you just put it more on the ground?
Yeah, I am. So when we think about reality, we create a different world because our thoughts are incapable and our senses are incapable of sensing the one. It's not tangible for the mind. The mind is too simplistic, it's too primitive in a way. It's meant to do certain things and not really perceive what there is. So when we look at relationships, for example, and we understand that we are light and energy, and we are the essence, and we're also the same essence, the one essence that's there for everything. That means that as much as I acknowledge this, I will live as it really is. As much as I argue with it, defy it, contradict it, believe in other worlds which I create to myself or are created to me and I inherit them, then I would find myself there, believing this combination of realizing the way that our nature is and what the nature of everything is, and the measure to which I believe in these thoughts, make me who I am at the moment. So when I am in a relationship, for example, and I let the other person, the energy that he or she brings into my life, I let it crack me. I let it destabilize me. I let them confuse me. Then this combination or this, forgot the word, it's like when you put chemicals together and they become some kind of, so when that changes, not because I changed it, but because I let go of
my shape.
Yeah, my form, my identity. I no longer hold on to them, and actually they stop interesting me. I'm actually alive. I am not concerned with who I am, what I am, what am I going to do, how am I going to solve, where am I going, or how am I going to reach whatever I believe that I need to reach. These are all the creation of the mind, therefore creating more complexity and more turmoil. But if I let that be, I look at it, I understand that it's my creation or other people's creation, and I come back into, or it's not coming back, I realize that I've never left what really is. I mean, the essence itself, the oneness, this one energy that never ceases. Then from there, my whole being is changed, because these thoughts no longer have impact on me. I less believe in thoughts, whatever they may be. And I'm more surrendered into the one energy that flows and shows and gives life, and then also makes me do things. So the relationship will look differently because I am less, not less like little. I am less a thing and much more this or it.
So what would you say, like back to my friend? Because, okay, there is no gap in the real, what really is. But in the experience, there is a gap.
Yeah.
And there is a necessity, I would even say, to bridge. Like, it's a nightmare to know that you are lucky, to know that you are loved, to know that you are successful, to know that not just an idea, but to know that, to feel it, and at the same time not be able to really relax into it and enjoy it.
I don't think that's the situation that you described, but that's what
No.
the mind says. No. And it's interesting because the mind says, okay, come to me, I'll explain it to you. Because we got used to think that the mind is the one who knows, and the way we perceive reality is not something you can count on. Okay? So actually, what you said now did not say anything about a gap. It said the mind, his mind, our minds, they create a story calling it a gap, because otherwise, how can that be?
Exactly.
Really feeling love, knowing that I'm loved, and yet coming, waking up in the morning, feeling anxiety, and the mind wants to bridge. And that's why it takes a piece from there, and makes up a story called, for your friend, a gap. Others would create another story. So first of all, let's go back to basics and see things as they appear and not as the mind
explains them.
Yeah. So sometimes he's like that and sometimes he's like that.
Right. Sometimes he's in the anxiety and sometimes he's in, okay, everything is...
not everything is good. I'm good. Not everything is good, like not bad. I know that I'm loved. I feel the love. It was a lot in there. You described it very beautifully. I could feel the sense of really loving and being loved.
Yeah.
Longing, and everything is there.
Yeah.
And that, in the morning or in some mornings, I wake up and feeling anxiety. Now that we've established back the basic assumptions and leaving the assumption of a gap, then I can look at this anxiety and then learn. If I know that I am one, and I know that everything is not only connected, but in total harmony, which comes only from knowing that I am one. Our body works in a way that knows that I am one. Jesus said, I am the body. Okay? The body. I am the body of Christ. That means that it's not a combination of particles or like a puzzle. Every piece has its own place and it's all put together and then creates a whole. It is one. And when we come from there, then the harmony is not something that we're creating, but something that is like an inner knowing, and it has nothing to do with understanding. I don't understand what I have to do now or why I'm doing that. I control nothing, but I'm very present. And by being present, I'm participating in this miracle here, in this mystery that is so beyond our senses and our mind, responsibly and actively, also lovingly.
But you're talking, okay.
One moment. And then the anxiety is there. And the anxiety can only happen if I forget what I just said. Because if I believe that I am separated, that my life depends on me, that what I do, I have. And by speaking about the coronavirus, we can see how it changed our lives fundamentally and also created an earthquake in the most fundamentals of our lives, the things we were sure were going to be here forever. And then we actually found out that they're not. It depends on me. So our control, our way of understanding ourselves as being in control of our lives create this, and only this creates anxiety. So when I feel this anxiety, I don't want to ask how I'm going to close the gap. There is no gap. The anxiety comes from an illusion saying that I need to control my life. I need to know where I'm going, know where I'm coming from, know what I can or cannot do, understand what's the right choice now, and then reach there. In many senses, the American dream is based on that. Okay, and that is called success. And that's why, in many senses, we find ourselves with anxieties, we find ourselves with pain, body, physical pain, or mental pain, or psychological pain, because we're all the time in friction with the world, trying to either push away things or receive things or get somewhere. So it's all the time like that. So how long can we go on doing that without having bad irritation and then even, blood and infection and so on?
This is a good opportunity to mention that you are very, very, very invited to comment with questions from your daily lives, from your experience regarding the topic. And you're also invited to come up to be in the video, in the live, in the Zoom with us. I can send a link. We would love you to. So, Ruti, if I summarize somehow, or if I take what you're saying, it actually sounds really simple. I say this carefully because I know it's not. Maybe it's not easy.
Right.
But it is simple.
Right.
The less we try to control, the less fear we will experience.
Yeah. Exactly. And especially less anxiety, because fear.
Yeah, let's say, please say something about the difference between fear and anxiety.
Yeah. Anxiety is something that's like a fundamental approach to life. And again, it comes together with trying to control. So for example, so actually I'll find myself trying to control, to make something happen or make something not happen, and think that I have to succeed in doing that. And in that sense, I am very much in stress. I'm very much, I'm confronting this opportunity, this option of not succeeding or failing. So I'll be frightened. Then I'll become more and more entangled in the fear, the experiments that I'm making in order to try to find a way, and then failing because we cannot control. Failing. My fear rises. Frightened. And I'm trying more with new methods, more forcefully, more something to control. And it's a vicious circle which grows because our fears rises, and then we try more dramatically, sometimes violently, and then we create a new kind of problem, and again and again. Fear, on the other hand, is something that sometimes shows us that if we pay attention, there are more things to consider, and there are more things to acknowledge, and which gives me more information, which gives me a greater ability to listen and to get what's really happening. And from there, I can listen better to this harmony that I was speaking of. It's not how I tackle a problem, but it's how I listen to it. For example, if we talk about incitement, very, very, very popular, but I don't mean in a cynical way, very, on the plate subject. Incitement can work only if I am incitable, meaning that I'm not aware that I am not my fears and I'm not my needs or desires. If I think that I am my fears, it takes very little from a skilled person, a sensitive person, to activate me and make me do whatever I don't want to do just by pushing the buttons of fear that he sees that I believe myself to be. Or desires. He will call me to be something, will tell me that if I give my life to him, if I give my power to him, he will make me something that I'm not. And when that happens, when I do believe that I am my desires and my needs and my dreams and my fears, then a person who's trying to make me act in opposite to what my nature and my true me will do, I'm very easy to influence then. Whenever I know that I'm not that, then I'll look and I'll ask, is that really true? If I let him tell me that I'm in danger and make me act as if I am in danger and I'm not my fears, I'll ask, am I in real danger now? And if I am in danger, what's really at danger? Okay, maybe some of my property is in danger. Maybe the way that I see myself is in danger. Maybe the way we as a community or a state have seen ourselves is in danger. That's good news. That means that this identity that I've been walking with, creating friction, pain, fear, and so on, is now about to crack. If I believe that I'm my needs and my fears, it would look like death. But if I know that I'm not, then actually it's like living in a shell and somebody comes and takes the shell out and tells you, come on, stretch your legs, breathe the air, see where you're at. And then from there, I'm anew.
But we are very much connected to our dreams and fears and needs. I mean, to tell somebody, you don't need your house, you don't need your you don't need to own your bank account, or you're not your health. Get vaccinated. You're a light. It makes you want to rebel.
You're right, because if somebody tells you that, then he or she thinks that they're an authority saying this to you and telling you what to do, and then please rebel.
But how can I, even between me and myself, say to myself, I am not these things?
Exactly as you said. Now, what if I would say, you know, there are many people who, when people enter their houses, they get really annoyed when they start touching things, or, for example, opening the cupboard and making themselves coffee. I love this, okay? I love it. But there are many people who don't.
Right.
If they would stop for a moment, while making coffee for themselves, okay? It's not a big deal. Looking at themselves and saying, why am I so anxious, or why am I so irritated, or why am I so frustrated or annoyed by her reaching the cupboard and making herself coffee while talking to me? Yeah. And then I would be able to see that there's a condition there. There's a condition for me to feel comfortable or to love or to be happy. Now, it's not that I'm saying you should not have conditions. What I'm actually saying is conditions are not true. Meaning that the fact that I will have a house or won't have a house is not a condition for anything. I can be really unhappy and have a house. I can be really unhappy and not have a house. I can be really happy and not having a house,
Yeah.
and I can be really happy with a house, because they just don't match. They don't depend on each other.
This doesn't mean that, and
Right.
that doesn't mean this.
Right. And if we learn this, or if we allow ourselves to experience that and to question ourselves in a good sense, in a loving sense, and also in a tender sense, it's not like, what do you mean? Or how can you be that way? But just really to ask ourselves, so if he takes my car and he took from that something, then what really happened to me? I'm not trying to convince myself, and I'm not trying to reproach, and I'm also not taking anyone else as an authority. But if I was coaching a woman yesterday and she said, you know, I look at those vaccines and this whole process of vaccination, and I feel a whole wave of love. Okay, I'm not immediately going up to my head thinking, do I agree with her or not? Am I going to vaccinate myself or not? No, it's like I feel this energy of love, letting it do within me whatever it does. And then I can do other things. And when asked next time, am I going to be vaccinated? I'll see what I see. And then I'll do what I'll do. Okay? But if I go into my thoughts, into my mind, then I hold on to the principles there, or to whatever is there, then I'm actually, first of all, not free. Okay? I'm like a slave of my thoughts and conclusions. And then I also am not really, I'm not really there. I can't really feel, see.
Yeah, it's like I'm wrapped. Wrapped in my thoughts. It's like, it's no wonder people say like they feel trapped. They feel trapped inside themselves. Usually we say it about our bodies. It's like, I'm trapped inside my body. I have so much and like I'm trapped, but it's not the body that we're trapped in. It's a set of thoughts.
Right.
So what would you say a person needs to know, or how can a person practice this like you said, you know, I'm not immediately reacting from my thoughts, but first I let the energy flow, because we're really not used to being like this.
Yeah.
So
first of all, again, it's a question of control.
It's a lot about a habit also. It's like,
It's a habit. I'll get to it in a moment. But first of all, when we still believe that we need to be in control of our lives, even the fact of, am I having anxieties or not? Yeah, and then if I think control-wise, I'd ask immediately, what am I going to do about my anxieties?
Yeah.
Why do they happen so that I can eliminate them?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be in control. It's the way I coach with migraines. Okay, and I'm not a doctor. But what I coach is what happens if I encounter my migraine not as a problem, but as a reality. It's there. I approach, I stop resisting, and I let it take over. Okay? Then suddenly this calmness, this natural flow can really show itself. I can really acknowledge that it's there while I'm having a migraine. And then more and more, like I can rest in this place while the migraine either comes and goes or comes less. One of the things that happens to us, for example, when we try to control, is that we try to predict. That's what happens also to new parents. That's one of the things that are difficult in the first months after having a baby, because you say, okay, so I got it. So he sleeps after he eats like an hour, and then we can sleep or do the laundry, and then next day, everything changes. No reminder of this order that we thought we figured out. If I come back to the migraines, people, when trying to cope with migraines, instead of allowing themselves to have migraines, is they're trying to predict. So they say every time do the laundry, and then every time after I eat, or every time after I feel that my eyes are heavy, the migraine comes. Now, they actually start living the migraine the minute their eyes become heavy. Okay? So actually, there are two things happening. One is that we actually live as if it already happens, and that's why we are creating this reality, thinking that we're now establishing strategies to eliminate or direct it in another direction or whatever. The other thing is the friction and the feeling of helplessness that come with the realization that we cannot control. So that if I allow myself not to get into this friction, I will find that it's like something that erupts, maybe in colors and motion that we haven't known, and exactly as it erupted, it dissolves, because it's a creation of our mind, and then it goes away. If I'm controlling this, if I'm trying to control, then I linger to it, and it stays longer, and it becomes worse. And then I live as if it's the end of the screen, the end of the script, while actually very little of it is happening, if at all. Sometimes our eyes are just heavy. Okay, maybe we're tired. Maybe we'll just be in meditation for a while. Maybe we'll just continue doing and it will pass. But if I create this script, this trying to predict, this prediction, then I go into this.
So, but let's say that we create the script, yeah? We don't even create it, it happens, like really. Very often, we cannot not create the script. Fear comes, a thought comes, and click, 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 click. In a second, the script is there. So, okay, what I can do then is acknowledge the script.
Or go slowly, because it's not true that we cannot. The reactivation that you mentioned happens really very fast, as you said. And it happens very fast because it's already very drilled. We've done that so many times. It's like
we're pros, we're real pros.
Team, exactly. If I go slowly, really slowly, like 30 times slower than we usually do, then I'll be able to see the if then, the many ifs and thens that come and create this reality. So then I'll be able to look and say, okay, but if then, if I don't know, it means I'm no good. If someone said that I'm not good, do I have not the wisdom within me? If I didn't succeed in that, does it really mean that I cannot do that? And that is something that would come out naturally if I'm looking from a really simple, and it's a bit humorous and a bit humble.
Yeah. It's like I need to give myself the permission to be a bit dumb. It's like, wait, like asking myself like stupid questions.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like, wait, if I won't do that, this and that, will it mean this and that?
Right. And it's not an intellectual, it's important to say this, it's not an intellectual
dialogue.
Yeah. It's much more really allowing myself to not know what I am. Okay, it's something that's very airy in the most beautiful way. It's not condensed. It's not with dots and strong colors, and there's no need for that. When the time comes for strong colors, they will show themselves, but it's not my doing. If I'm trying to do that, that means that I'm not encountering my true nature, which is very, very
airy.
It's airy, and it's also very perceptive, very, very one with everything. So I don't need to have, nothing is hermetically closed. Nothing has only one place. It moves. When people get cured from diseases, I mean serious diseases, they always will have, if they're very sincere with themselves, they always have this, it's a question, but more like a reflection or a contemplation. They would say, was this disease really there and we cured it? Or is it possible that it was never really what I was? And for a while, there was this manifestation, this image that I went through coming out the other side, knowing what I am. Okay? And it's a really beautiful question, because when I even begin to contemplate the possibility that I was not my cancer, and that the tumor was a manifestation that reflected something that I believed, and that while going through that, really, truly, with all of who I am, I came out the other side, acknowledging what I really am, then maybe next time I would be able to do that while it is happening. Okay, and that would be a whole different thing, a whole different realm of things. Okay, it's not suggesting not to get treatment or not to go to doctors and realize what's happening. But if I consider that what's happening is like fireworks, it appears for a while, it's very there, it's very present, and I love them. So it's like I feel that I am one with them or with the stars and the moon, but then they go. The sun sets in the sea, or we don't see it anymore, and still everything is in place. Nothing really changed. Nothing is really missing. How would it be, and how would we live our everyday lives if we acknowledge that more and more? Not as a new idea, not as a perception to hold on to, but as something that we see again and again, realizing that maybe that is what we are, and the rest is just temporarily here.
That brings me to a scenario when I also immediately encounter fear, saying that if I will live like this, I will not try to control. I will know that I am not the doer. Then I will do nothing. I will be, and immediately it feels irresponsible, especially if I'm in a bad shape, like if I'm sick, if I am unemployed, if I really want to be a mother and I did nothing about it, in terms of I don't have a partner, I didn't freeze my eggs. So how can I be, how can I not control and still be active? I want things, I want to get them, I need to do something about it.
Yeah. Do you see that the basic assumption that everything that you said lies upon is that in order for me to do something, I need to control?
Yeah, that's where our minds go.
Yeah, but the truth is the opposite. What I mean is that we got really used to think that we need to control saying we need to know where we're going or what we want or what we don't want, and then to realize where we're coming from, and then to close the gap.
Let's talk about a person that is sick and is in chronic pain.
Just in a moment, I will. So when I'm trying to control, I'm trying to take the phenomena that's there, like chronic pain, and to change it, okay, to eliminate it or lessen it. What I'm not doing is realizing that this pain is the result of the way that I am in the world, okay? That chronic pain is a manifestation. We may call it even, it's the fruit of my basic assumptions and the way I am in the world.
Really? Okay? Like, really? You say like, this is that?
Yeah. But I'm not saying what is that. I'm just saying this is a manifestation of something in me, of the thoughts and then the relationship that I have with the world. And I mean the physical world, I mean nature, I mean other people, and I mean myself.
So when I look at what is happening to me, how my life is, I can literally see a reflection of my thoughts, of the way I meet the world meets me.
Yeah, exactly. And then I can, and if I don't relate to that, then doing something with the appearance is nothing, because the same thought is there. Yeah. So I may go through operations and still the symptom will come back. Yeah. If it will come back, for example, if I think that life is too much for me and I cannot digest what happens, okay, so it can mean that I have knots in my stomach, in my intestine.
I never know how to say this word.
And it may also, and maybe that would be solved, although not easily, but it may be solved. But then I would have, for example, problems with my blood pressure, because life comes and I'm shrinking and trying not to let it go through, because I feel that they're too much for me. So all my body is intense and shrinked and unwilling. So other symptoms will occur. Sometimes they will occur in breath, sometimes in blood pressure, sometimes, but the thing itself, or the essence, is that the way that I call it, I dance with the world, is what makes that happen. Now, it's not that we need to feel guilty in any way, or
exactly. This is exactly where it goes. Shit, it's all in me. It's all my fault.
Right. So the mind says, are you good or are you bad? Did you do what you need to do or not? Are you going to get there?
We say, okay, so I'll think positive thoughts, so I will change my reality.
Yeah. But if, for example, I would look and I would say, ask myself, do I really believe that life is too much for me to handle? And I would ask myself, for me, it takes 3 times. I need to ask myself, and I don't see it. And then I ask again. Now, again, it's not a method. It's with everyone, it's unique, but I'm asking myself this so that the answer would not come from my automatic self, from the image that I've grown to believe that I am, but from somewhere deeper that's really observing. So can that be that life is too much for me? Can that be that I am created this miraculous thing that we are, yeah, unexplainable, unperceived, and yet so much there, cannot cope, cannot be with the reality that we are creating. Okay, because the pain and the hurt and the fear and the anger,
frustration, shame,
exactly, they are our creation. Okay, the nature is what it is. The bird is a bird. It has no dilemmas. Okay? It complies. It works with its own instincts. It works with the way that it was made.
Yeah.
Have the ability, since we have the ability to think and then to reflect, we can create worlds which are not there, meaning they're not the way that it is. They're just a creation. It's like a hologram. And then we continue to live as if we're in this hologram, taking others into it also, saying to others that loving us, meaning entering this hologram, believing this, and then we become more and more entangled in those worlds.
Yeah. Okay, so I think a lot of people these days know what we're saying. Maybe not to the fundamental research that we are coming from, but a lot of people know what anxiety is. A lot of people know that they are trapped in their own thoughts, that they're creating their reality, and still we don't know how to stop it, or we don't know how to be different. And we get so exhausted from knowing that it's like that, knowing that it is in our hands in a way, and not be able to get out of the movie. Yeah. because we think. So it also brings me to a question about medicines. Sometimes the anxiety, the thoughts are too powerful, and yeah, maybe the habit is too strong. Maybe we didn't have the right I don't know, education about who we really are and how to approach our nature and our beauty and the love that is constantly springing from us. It's just, everything is just like too fucked up in our experience.
Yeah. So first of all, I don't think that many people know that their reality is created by their thoughts. They believe, most people believe, as far as I know, that they are their thoughts. That's why they also argue. That's why they defend themselves. That's why they make friends with people who think like them, because they believe that they are their opinions and their thoughts. Secondly, knowing intellectually that that is the case, that we have thoughts that influence our lives and create realities, this is not what I mean. This is the mind continuing to look for the question of what to do, what am I to do, how can I solve it, how can I reach wherever I need to reach, how can I be not lacking or missing.
How can I not be my thoughts?
Right. Exactly. So then it comes also to our thoughts. So now I have two and I have to solve. What we were saying, and that's why we said that there are no two dimensions, there's only one. That's the beginning of our session today, because the real fundamental understanding or acknowledgement is that whenever I'm in friction, I am living out of an illusion. And instead of thinking, what am I to do with the illusion? I want to look at the illusion and see it for what it is, understand what it's saying to me and how it is reactivating me. How is it doing it by making me afraid? Or how is it doing it by presenting me or promising me salvation? Okay? Both of them are part of the illusion. The real encounter with the realm that is not thought is when I really allow myself to be helpless, not trying to control, not trying to solve, not trying to understand. Now, as you said before, the mind would say to me, well, then you're actually dying, okay? Because you become passive, the world is there, and what's left? Actually, the opposite is true, because once I allow myself to stop trying to control, and I allow myself to stop asking this question of what to do, and instead I look at what's happening and I ask, if that is what's happening now, what do I think it does to me? What do I think it really does to the love that I am? What do I really think it does to the beauty that I convey? What does it do to the wisdom, to the inner ancient wisdom that's there? And that is the answer to that brings me back home. And it allows me to see the difference between the hectic story that our minds are telling us and what we really are.
Sometimes it's really paralyzing.
Yeah.
This move of looking at my thought, seeing that the thought is not me, and then I'm forced in a good way to ask myself, then what am I? If I'm not this, then, and this, it's like turning the eyes inwards.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a shock.
And this shock, I love it. And I prefer that we don't answer than what
Exactly. You can't answer.
Yeah, I'll just be there, left at home, in my real home, not trying to give it names, not trying to understand it and in a sense of something that's tangible for the mind, not putting it into molds or some kind of a logic, nothing of that sort. Just when I acknowledge that I am not my thoughts and that I am not a thought, then silence is what I'm asked to acknowledge. And this silence, exactly contrary to what the mind says, this silence is where I'm very open, I'm very present, I'm one with everything. And then what I'll do in the next moment and the way that I'll be in the world is absolutely not passive, but it will not come out of me trying to control. And actually, it would not come from who I got used to think that I am.
It won't come exactly from me.
Right. But on the other hand, when someone would look, they say, no, Noah, when you are near Noah, good things happen. I don't know what's really happening. I don't know how it works. I can't even tell you what she does, but great things are happening, which is actually true. So
I want to say that it sounds super spiritual, but in my experience and to my understanding these days, it's almost the opposite of what we call spiritual. It's so connected to what really is. It's nice because it's what we're called ourselves, but it's not what I mean. I mean, it's really it's going to the most basic tachles, you say in Hebrew and also in German. It's the most basic thing, is being now here. That's it. There's nothing more to say about it.
Yeah.
How did we get to think that this is so spiritual, being in the here and now? We say it as if it's like, but this is so physical, biological.
Right. On Sunday, we begin a webinar looking exactly at that. Through the book of What Really Is, we're looking at how life looks and how it is to be alive when we acknowledge that we are human beings and we do have a mind and it does speak, and we don't want to try to fight it or to eliminate it, because then we come back to the same vicious circle. But if I acknowledge that I am not my thoughts and I am not my mind and I am not this logic that we've grown to believe that is reality, then what's left? And I think that being a responsible participant in this creation, in this miraculous world, has much to do with that ability to discern between what I really am the thing that's not explainable and not tangible, but very alive and life-giving, and between the mind and the images it has created during our lives.
Ring. Nice chord to end with. So thank you very much. Thank you also for reminding the webinar that is happening on Sunday, because I would forget. I will attach a link to the webinar. We would love you to be there with us. This is the introductory webinar, first one in English, bringing this super practical and beautiful knowledge. Yeah, that's totally time for us to start living. Thank you. See you next week.